if you're here watching this, I'm going to guess that you have at some point been heartbroken or let down in your relationships. And you want to figure out what to do different, how to change those patterns. And so today I'm going to help you with that by addressing the issue of projection and the way that our brain works in the process of projecting into a relationship, which ultimately is what creates the letdown that catches you off guard. So I want to go all into that. I want to give you some very practical steps that you can use. But first, if you're new here, I'm Ketra Thompson. And what I do is I combine a unique process of modalities using hypnotherapy, relationship coaching, and attachment style coaching to go back to the root of what's driving your unwanted feelings, your unwanted behavior patterns, your protective functions, reframe them subconsciously, and then build in the new way of being that is your authentic self. So if you'd like to learn more about becoming securely attached, addressing that subconscious programming, you can check out the link in the description below where you and I can have a complimentary consultation call. We can chat about your specific, unique struggles, and I can give you my best recommendation. So let's talk a little bit about projection. Projection in a relationship is when you are projecting what you want this person to be onto them. It's like a movie screen in your mind, and you are the writer. So you are deciding what this person is, how they function, what you want them to be, all the things, and you're projecting it onto the screen. And so when you do this with another human being, the problem is that human being is not a projector screen. They have their own autonomy, their own ideals, their own programming, their own protective functions. And so early in a relationship, you can project what you want them to be and then get really disappointed when they don't turn out to be what you wanted them to be. But even in a marriage, you can project who you think they should be as a spouse, the expectations of what that looks like in your mind onto that person, and then be disappointed when they don't meet up to that expectation. Expectations are a part of projection. And it's not that we shouldn't have expectations. We should have healthy expectations, but we should have awareness around them. We don't want our subconscious programming to be driving this projection mechanism or the expectation in a way that isn't letting us see clearly, because we decide inside of ourselves who someone is, and then we get let down by it. And it's not even really a conscious thing most of the time. We're doing this because of the way that our programming works. Now, your subconscious mind controls over 95% of everything you think, feel, and do. So it's running the show, and it's programmed in its strongest form from birth to age 7. And there is some stuff that happens after that, but basically programmed when you don't have much discernment. And that doesn't work in your favor typically. And so what happens is this projection is the way you break your own heart. And to stop that, we've got to, first of all, reframe the subconscious programming underneath it. But we also need to slow things down. We need to approach relationships with a level of curiosity and patience. We don't rush, we don't push. We need to discern wants versus needs. So here's an example. Let's say you're in a new relationship and you're really excited and everything is just lighting you up, right? You're just really excited inside and you just want to be with this person just all the time. And so you think, well, okay, I'm listening to what I want. I'm doing that. But that's when you need to slow down. You need to slow down and go, yes, I want to be with this person every waking minute because that makes me feel good. And it reassures this part of me that they want me there, that they want to be connected to me. And that's sort of the anxious part of you. But you also need to tune into the needs part. So wanting something and needing it aren't quite the same thing, even though sometimes those lines cross. So needing is more like, okay, I want to see this person, I want to spend time with them, but what do I have going on in my own life? What is going on with me? What do I need? Do I have a really busy schedule? Do I need some downtime and some rest? Am I going to need to make sure I'm taking good care of me so that I have the bandwidth to give to this relationship? Because we all have the same amount of hours in a day, but we don't have the same amount of bandwidth. And so, depending on what's going on, that bandwidth gets spent. And depending on how intense our day is, and how much emotional energy is going into our day, and how much physical energy is going into our day, all of that affects your bandwidth. And so, when you can tune into your needs and go, well, I actually know that I'm going to feel at my best if I get to bed early and if I do X, Y, and Z. So that doesn't work for me to go just be with this person just because I want to. That is a form of self-betrayal. You are betraying your needs in this context that makes you feel like it's okay because, after all, you're getting what you want. And so you're sacrificing because something has to give. Now, all relationships require some level of give and take, but you don't want to move into this anxious place of just always saying yes to whatever you want and in the process betraying yourself and your own needs. Your needs are important. They're the baseline for everything. And you're not going to make a clear decision about a relationship unless you have those base needs met. If you kind of think of like Maslow's hierarchy, that base part is like your food, shelter, safety, rest. Like it's these things that are the foundation for you to thrive in the other layers. And so you first of all want to change and step back enough to discern want versus need. That's the first thing you want to do. And this can be confusing, especially if you are in a relationship dynamic where you're a little anxious and you're with someone who's a dismissive avoidant, because you will fill in the blanks of what's not being said. Or initially, early on in the relationship, there's a lot being said. There's a lot of openness with communication and affection and words and all of the things. And you think, oh, this person really wants me and they want me to be around all the time, until it gets too real and they push back and they create distance. And now you're just kind of panicking because you had already decided in your head who you thought they were. You had projected that image onto them. And I'm not saying it wasn't based on some legitimate things. They legitimately gave you all this time, attention, and affection, and it felt really good. But because you didn't step back, show some discernment, balance your own wants with your own needs, you got sucked down into this pattern of believing that this other person is wanting exactly what you want and is communicating clearly. And so you projected an image of them being like you. And at the end of the day, they weren't, because they have different protective functions that come up when there is a real threat, when there's real feelings or there's a real risk of obligation or commitment. And so the problem with all of this in the projection ideal is that you're filling in the blanks of the things you don't know. So if you think about the early stages of that dynamic, anxious and avoidant, there's a lot of sort of like maybe verbal love bombing and a lot of attention. And so you're filling in the blanks without gathering enough data. And even later in the relationship, when things go silent and you stop maybe getting the same words of affirmation, maybe actions are there, but you feel confused, you fill in the blank. And let's just say in a relationship that doesn't fall into that strict dynamic even, you're going to fill in the blanks of the silence with what you hope it means or what your past experience in life tells you that it means. So let's say you're dating someone who doesn't seem to be avoidant at all or anxious and is taking their time and is being kind and respectful. Even with that kind of dynamic, if there is a lack of maybe words going with actions, you're automatically going to fill in the blank. Now, part of you, if someone's going really slow and not kind of doing this full on little bit love bomb-ish thing that happens with like an avoidant or especially narcissist, you're going to fill in those blanks with your projection based on your past. Let's say you've been with someone who did that in the past and you think, well, I'm used to like someone really like showing me all these things and telling me all these things, that probably means this person doesn't like me. But they're being steady and consistent with their actions. You're going to feel some confusion inside because you're going to feel like my past tells me that it's supposed to be different than this. And you're going to make an assumption, you're fill in the blanks. That's sort of the second piece of this. You've got to balance your wants versus needs to be meeting your needs first. The second piece is that you've got to be aware that your brain is going to make assumptions and fill in the blanks. And so you've got to get to a place where you can actually have a conversation without the fear of rejection. Because the fear of rejection is sort of a lie. It's a lie that's part of the programming in your brain. There is no rejection. It's just data. It's just gathering information. Your value isn't based on whether someone accepts you or rejects you anyway. You are already worthy. You are already valuable. And if you don't realize that, then the programming that's been in there for a long time is going to start questioning it. Maybe this person isn't that into me. Maybe they don't feel the way I do. Maybe there's someone else. Maybe they don't want this. And this can happen whether you're at the commitment stage of marriage or if you're in the dating stage. And so you've got to realize that rejection is actually a lie that your brain is telling you. And when you realize that, you just realize, okay, I've been waiting for my projected idea to show up in this person, but you cannot control anything outside of yourself. So what you really need to do is gather that data. You need to collect data. You need to look at the pattern. You need to be aware that you're just treating it like a science experiment almost. Let's see what's consistently true. And when something doesn't line up, you have to be able to have that discussion and say, hey, I'm noticing this, but I don't want to make an assumption about you. I don't want to try to read your mind and decide silently on my own without you being a part of this process. I'm feeling this way, but I might not be right. Can you tell me how you feel about it or what's going on with you? You've got to be able to have that conversation because the projection and the assumption around the projection is really detrimental to any relationship. You assume that someone meant something some way or said it a certain way or didn't mean something one way. Like you just make all these assumptions based on your past programming and the influences around you, and you don't always have the big picture. Now, this can be really confusing because if you're dealing with someone who's narcissistic, you're not ever going to get a real answer from them. They aren't going to be straight with you. They're going to manipulate you, and you're going to end up on a topic you never even started out on to begin with, and it's going to be confusing. But if you're with someone who actually has good intentions for the relationship, who wants something real and wants you to know where they really stand, then you're going to have a lot more clarity. They're not going to dismiss your concerns. They're going to be glad you brought them up, and they're going to give you clarity. And when that happens, you have to watch to see if now their actions follow the clarity they just gave you. Because words are great, but actions mean more. So we take the projection off of the other people and we tune back into ourselves. Our own wants, our own needs. Make sure you're meeting your own needs. We challenge the assumption that our brain makes to fill in the blanks because we don't want to make that assumption. And then we have to step into real communication so that we ask that person, this is what I'm noticing. I might not be right here. Can you give me some clarity? Can you help me understand? You've got to be able to do those things. And the tricky part about being able to do those things and really gather the data and communicate clearly and calmly without jumping to conclusions, without anxiously going down this panicky path of conversation where we say, help me understand. I don't know why you're doing it. We're not freaking out. When we have that calm, centered piece, we're able to do this and not let the projection, the idea in our brain, run the show. But in order to do this, we've got to deal with the subconscious blocks because those protective functions have been in there for a long time and they think that they are helping you. They're protecting you. And they probably did protect you once upon a time, but they're no longer protecting you if they are keeping you stuck in this idea of projection. And we all do it a little bit where we think, oh, I think I know, what this person's like. But we really need to challenge that. The assumption that we make about someone, especially based on how our past has shown us that people are going to be, it's a very dangerous place because you could end up missing someone who genuinely has good intentions for you, has genuine interest in you. And if you have a need that's not being met, then you've got to be able to deal with the fear of rejection and speak it out loud so that they actually know what your needs are, because they aren't supposed to read your mind either. And then you start over with gathering data, looking for consistency, balancing your needs versus your wants. And this is an ongoing process in a relationship. Now, one of the dangerous things can be down the road when you are in a committed relationship, like at the point of marriage, you make the assumption that you've already had all these conversations, you know all the things, and even though you know each other better, you should always assume that you're both growing, and you should be growing, which means you are going to have to learn more new things about that person, and they are going to have to learn these things about you. So as you change, you need to tell them how your wants and needs are shifting, or your perceptions. And you need to inquire about theirs, and they need to tell you too. It's an ongoing process. But projection tends to come from a place of not only your past influencing the way you see things, but also your fears. It's past programming plus your current present moment fears. So if you are scared you're never going to find someone, if you are financially struggling, if you are not confident in your self-worth, any of these things are going to feed into the projections that you create in your relationship. It's going to shift your energy. It's going to shift how you show up because it's going to create a neediness in you, even if you're not saying it out loud. The energy of neediness is going to exude from you, and the people that you date or are with are going to feel this neediness and go, oh no, like I just want to genuinely build and get to know each other. Like I don't want you to have to need me right now. And that doesn't mean that there isn't really healthy interdependence where we do need each other for some things. But you definitely don't want to end up with someone who has the dynamic of the savior that's going to, subconsciously, I need to save this person so they need me and they'll never leave me. You don't want that. And that's what you're going to attract if you're in that needy energy. You're going to attract the person who actually probably wants to use you by saving you and making you indebted to them. And so you've got to get rid of the needy energy. And it's not about what you say, it's about what you're exuding from the inside. So I love this analogy. Think about your life like a bicycle wheel. There is a hub in the middle, and there's all the spokes that support the tire. As women, we're oftentimes conditioned to make men or a partner the hub. That's a big mistake. You are the hub. All the little spokes are all the other things that support you in life. It holds up the tire. It keeps life rolling. And if you enter something committed like a marriage, that spoke for that person gets a little thicker, a little stronger, but it never takes the place of the other spokes, and it never becomes the hub. Those little spokes in your life are everything else that supports you. They are your work, your hobbies, your friends, your family, your schooling, your whatever, these things that are filling up your life and supporting you in multiple areas. They're supporting your health, they're supporting your financial stability, they're supporting your relationship needs. It can never be just this partner. Even if that spoke gets thicker over time and sturdier, you've got to have your life full, and you've got to have it supported in a way that keeps you from having needy energy. So get real with yourself and ask yourself, where am I needy? Am I needy financially? How can I fix that? I don't need to fix it with a partner. First, I need to fix it for myself. I need to earn more, or I need to get a roommate, or I need to, whatever it is, make it happen so that your needy energy goes down. And ultimately, if you want to make the deepest change, do the hypnotherapy process so that we can get to the heart of what's driving that. Because I cannot tell you how many clients I have had that are very financially stable, that have great jobs, women that are just very successful, yet they feel very needy toward a partner. And men have this issue too. So it's not just one or the other. But that neediness is more about, I need this person to validate that I'm worthy, that I'm wanted. I need them to do that. And the more you need that, the more you're going to attract someone who probably isn't in alignment with a healthy relationship dynamic. And so while we do need each other as human beings, we don't want to have a neediness about us. And we don't want to project onto that person what we expect them to be. First and foremost, we are going to meet our own needs. Even if we do sometimes express need to our partner and they don't do it, then we still need to meet that need for ourselves or with another source or whatever that is. And we need to know that they have the right to say no to our requests, but we're gathering data. We're gathering information. We are watching for patterns. We're aware. And so I hope this gives you a little bit more insight into the way we project. This is what this person should be and should do. This is what a husband should be and should do. This is what a wife should be and should do. No, every person is their own unique individual. And it is your job to be curious about what your partner is really like without making the assumption and without creating the projection, because it happens on a subconscious level, oftentimes based on how our parents were, what we saw on TV, what went into the programming, and also based on our past experiences in our own relationships. And so snap judgments are always a bad idea. We want to pay attention to our intuition, but we also want to show that we have some discernment and we want to be able to slow things down. So I hope that was helpful. Again, if you would like to get to the heart of what's going on with your relationship, your struggles, even your subconscious programming, set up that consultation call so that you and I can chat and we can get to the heart of this. And I am just now about to launch the new attachment detox program, which is something that if you are not ready for the VIP 12-week experience of all the custom work, this is a way to create some momentum and get some healing at a lower price point. So you'll want to check that out in the description below. And as always, if this resonates with you, please click like and subscribe so you can be notified every time I post a new video. And until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design.